But with that, today we're going to start a 5-week series on marriage. Again, why now? Because today I think marriages are under assault more than they have been in a long time. I think that the whole COVID shutdown mentality, the whole separation mentality has caused couples to spend a lot of time together, and that was shocking to many of them because it revealed for many couples that they were struggling, but they didn't know how much they were struggling. So it was a new kind of lifestyle to live in. It allowed things to bubble to the surface, plus all the tension that's been going on has been affecting marriages. And I've seen more marriages struggle in the last 2 years than I've seen in a long time. I've done a lot of counseling sessions. I talk with my other pastor friends who do a lot of counseling. And almost all their counseling right now, all the time, the people coming in, it's almost all marriage related. And I said, well, then we need to talk about that. We need to get God's perspective about marriage and reorient some of that so maybe we can do something about that. So ladies, I want to talk to you first. Remember when you were little girls? I mean, like little girls, and you dreamed of what that marriage would be like, that perfect marriage to the perfect guy. You know, you kind of dreamed of your wedding and what it would look like and the dress that you might wear and the house you might move into and the perfect children that you were going to have and all of that stuff. You know, you had those dreams. I think most young ladies I've talked to have those. Guys, we didn't dream like that. We dreamed like, boy, I'm going to get to have sex twice a day and 3 times on Sunday, and that's all that matters. And you know what? We're all still dreaming. Because that's not the real world, is it? Those dreams just aren't real. I've been asked many times, are good marriages really possible? Well, I can tell you great marriages are possible, but they're not easy. And they are not common. Possible, yes. Likely, no. If we look statistically at it. If you do what everyone else does, then you will get what everybody else has been getting for years, and that's about 50% of all marriages end in divorce. That's a pretty startling statistic. It hasn't changed for years and years and years. And of those who do make it, the majority of them say their marriage is more and more a challenge of just getting through it instead of thriving. You know, so basically they're sticking together for their kids, they're sticking together because they're stubborn, they don't want to get divorced. There's not a lot of joy in their marriage, they're just existing together. And I thought, is that really what God intended? And is that what you really want, is a marriage like that, where the risk is 50-50? And I thought about, why is it that we approach marriage so casually? I mean, if you knew you had a 50-50 proposition, if the odds were 50-50 that something would succeed, would you take a 50-50 chance to lose all of your money on something? No, we wouldn't do that, would we? Would you take a 50% chance if I told you, if you leave today from this building, you have a 50-50 chance of getting killed in a car, would you like those odds? Or the next plane ride you take, you have a 50-50 chance of crashing and dying in that aircraft. Would you take that chance? You know, if I said, you know, if you're out hiking in the woods, you have a 50-50 chance to be attacked by feral cats with thumbs, and they're going to tear you apart, right? Would you go hiking in the woods? No, we wouldn't. We would say that's too big a risk. We wouldn't go down that path. Yet it's insane in our country. You have to take a class to get a driver's permit, to get a license. But you can go down and pay $15 and get a marriage license with nothing to prepare you. Now think about that. And there's a 50-50 chance it's going to end in divorce. My prayer as we go through this is, if you aren't married, that you hear what you need to do to get ready for marriage and have the right perspective. That if you are married and you are struggling, that you see the solutions to the struggle. If you aren't struggling and you're thriving, that you would continue and reinforce and maybe add some new things to your marriage to make sure that it continues to thrive. That's what I would hope for each and every one of you. And I would pray, especially for those who aren't married right now, don't go down the world's path of doing what the world does. You need to be prepared. You need to get counseling from someone who knows what they're talking about. Okay, there's a popular trend today, and if you guys get mad at me for saying this, friends counseling friends to prepare them for marriage, and I think that is the dumbest thing on the planet. No offense, someone who's been married 3 years can't tell you how to have a successful marriage. You need someone who has seen it, experienced it, been involved in it, helped others to be successful, who have a godly perspective to prep you, and every couple needs to be prepped because there are unique challenges to marriage that you will not have anywhere else in your life, and you need some wisdom to prepare you to walk through those doors. And I would pray that couples would get married in a church to honor God, realizing this is His covenant, by someone who understands that covenant relationship. It's because this is all important to us, because who wants to take a 50-50 chance? Because you just didn't prepare properly. I mean, you need to be prepared for that. So any of you who have got children, or if you're thinking about that in the future, don't do what the world does. And no offense, if I was your age, I wouldn't have counted on my friends to counsel me, because many of those friends now are divorced. Obviously, they didn't know what they were talking about. I would go to someone like my wife and I did when we were struggling, a man who was a retired pastor who had seen it all. And he walked us through how to heal our marriage. You don't find that everywhere. So it's kind of insane that we will allow people to get married without the proper preparation. I just wouldn't want to take that 50-50 chance. And I know everybody says, but we love each other and we know it's going to work. Every couple says that. No one walks into marriage saying, I hope we divorce someday. They don't do that. That's not part of marriage. That's not what we talk about. We all have the pie in the sky dream of what our marriage ought to be, and then reality hits. Because when you have two imperfect people living together, you're going to have imperfect results at times. And then how do you deal with that? And then how do you lower the risk? How do you increase the chance of success that your marriage actually thrives? And I think it starts by taking the vows that we make to each other seriously. Like for the typical vows that I use in a standard wedding, if they say, I want a traditional wedding, the vows are like this. I, John, take you, Dora, where's my wife at? She's right back there. I take you, Dora, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward. Okay? For better, for worse, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, being faithful to you, so long as we both shall live. And then normally we say, so help me God. And I think some people say, so help me God, like it's an ending to it. We ought to be saying, so help me God. Because if I want to succeed, I'm going to need your help to do what I just promised. I'm going to need that. And we're calling this series From This Day Forward. And my hope is that from this day forward, wherever you are in marriage, your marriage will be enhanced from this day forward as you make maybe some different decisions about how to be married and what that really means. And there's 5 commitments we're going to talk about in this series. One each week, 5 weeks. We're going to talk about seeking God. And if you want to bring those 5 up on the screen, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. You didn't have it downloaded onto your thing? No. Oh, we need to fix that really quick. So it should be on your desktop, sweetie. We'll let you take care of that and give her a chance to do it. There are 5 commitments. They're in your handout, so look at your handout, okay? We're going to seek God. We're going to learn to fight fair. We're going to learn how to have fun in our marriage, which is really important. We're going to learn how to stay pure, and most importantly, how to never, ever give up. Okay? Those 5 things. Seek God, fight fair, have fun, stay pure, never, never give up. Those 5 things are critical. They're up there now. They're great. Seek God, fight fair. So I want you to say those with me, because I want you to have these ingrained in your head. So if you ever have to say to somebody, what's the key to success in marriage? You're going to say, there's 5 things. Okay? Let's say it together. Seek God, fight fair, have fun, stay pure, never give up. 5 things. I guarantee you, if you employ these 5 things in your marriage, you will have a great chance of success. Not just staying together, but thriving together and really enjoying the relationship you have. So today we're going to talk about seeking God. And here's what I think most couples make a mistake. They don't seek God initially. They seek someone to be married to. You know, I'm seeking a spouse. I'm looking for someone. I'm looking for a husband. I'm looking for a wife, someone that fits with me. And I love how we kind of romanticize it. I need to find the one. because there's that one person out there that's just right for me. And I love that romantic kind of idea, to be honest with you. If you read all the material about compatibility, about every 20th person you've met, you could probably get along with just fine for the rest of your life. And I'm thinking about Sam Palukas, we were just praying about. Sam's one of those unique marriages. His was arranged. He's got Greek parents, and they arranged marriages, and his wife he met 3 days before their wedding. Because mom and dad arranged the marriage, she came to the United States. 3 days later, they were married, and they have been married ever since. Because they learned how to be a couple together. I'm not saying that's the smartest thing to do, but that's definitely not the American way to do it. What do? We try on a lot of different people, we play married, and then we decide to get married. And then we have 50-50 chance of success. That ought to tell us something. Okay, so realize that the ideas that we have about how we should do things, of I need to meet the one, and I won't be fulfilled till I meet the one, and I got to have the person that completes me, and I got to have this, and I got to have that. I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times again. It's not about seeking the one person. God is your one, and your spouse is your two. Okay? God is the one. Your spouse is the two in the relationship. We get it backwards. We seek the spouse, and then maybe seek God. And we need to seek God first and a spouse second if we want to have success in a marriage. And I know it feels so good to have those thrilling thoughts about marrying just that one perfect person. But most everybody goes into marriage thinking they're marrying the perfect person, without realizing that in order to thrive in that marriage, they have to put the priorities in the right place. So we need to learn that God is our number one. Our spouse is our number two. Matthew 22, verse 37, notice what it says. Jesus replied, what? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Who is first in that equation? God. Who is second? Everybody else. Okay? In a marriage, it's your wife or your husband. But first is God. God is the number one. Your spouse is the number two. And that begins to make that happen. If you want a blessed marriage, you put God first. You want to serve God together as a couple by putting God first. You want to have successful kids and be a successful parent, you put God first. You seek Him first. You want to have financial blessings and learn to be generous, you seek God first. You put Him first. You want to make an eternal difference, you seek God first, not the spouse first. Okay? God comes first, not second. Okay? Don't seek the things that the world says you need to seek first. You seek God first. Don't go looking for the man or the woman you need to have. Look for God first. And let God bring that man or woman into your life. And God does that. Matthew 6:33, but seek what? Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. You want a great marriage? You want kids that are a blessing, not a curse? You want to be able to have a life of meaning and purpose? Seek God's kingdom first. He'll add all those other things, including that marriage that thrives. God can do that because He is first in your life. So let me put it this way. If you're hoping to get married, and if you're listening online or you're here single today and you're hoping someday to get married, I want to say it this way. You need to make a commitment to yourself and to God. It is simply this. I will always seek the one for my two. I will always seek the one for my two. I will always seek God to bring me the one that I need, is what I'm saying. I will let God be part of that equation, not my friends who hook me up with the person. I'm going to talk to God and ask Him first. I will seek the one. I will seek a deeper relationship with the one. I will let the one know what my heart's desire is and let the one guide me to the two in my life. So if you're not married, that's the perspective you take into it. I mean, Andy Stanley, great preacher in Atlanta, he told a story that was almost funny but heartbreaking at the same time. So I'm stealing his story. He's talking about a young girl he knew very well who was very committed to the Lord all through high school and then went to college. And as often happens in college, friends kind of pile on. Your faith gets a little bit challenged, and she started to become kind of a party girl. You know, she started compromising her values about certain things, started drinking, started going to parties, then finally kind of fell into a pattern that so many people fall into by going from guy to guy to guy to guy to guy to guy. And one day she met this gentleman that she thought, this is the man of my dreams. He's a godly man. He's got a great job. He's respected by everyone. He serves God with his whole heart. So she calls her mom and says, Mom, I think I found the one for me. And she describes him to her mother, and her mother says back to her, honey, men like him are not looking for girls like you. Pretty powerful statement. Okay? They aren't. They're not looking for that. You need to be the type of person you want to marry. You need to be the godly person for the godly person you want to marry. You need to be that person yourself so you can attract that kind of person to you as well. That's the challenge the mom was giving her. If you want to marry somebody who has had 18 different sex partners, go ahead. The world does it all the time. 50-50 chance. Go ahead. Take the risk. If you want 50-50 odds like everybody else, that is your choice. If you want something different, you seek God first. Then let Him take you to your partner. You do it God's way. He makes it work. So if you're hoping to get married, I will seek the one while preparing for the two. Okay? By getting ready for it, by letting God shape me, letting God mold me, letting God change me, letting God make me into the godly person that I need to be the godly spouse to the person that you bring my way. Okay? You know, if you're saying, well, when I meet that person, I'll clean up my act. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Okay? You let God clean up your act, and then you seek the person. You seek God first. If you're already married, here's the commitment you need to make. I will always seek the one with my two. I will always seek the one with my two, meaning I will seek God first, and I'll do it with my spouse. I will always seek the one with my two. God has to be one. Our spouse has to be two. And I know, guys, it is that kind of, again, romanticizing of marriage that gets in the way of understanding this. Normally, you know, God's hierarchy isn't hard. I share this with couples all the time. God says, me first. If you're married, spouse second. Family third. Everybody else, then yourself. That's His hierarchy. It's simple. You can read it all through Scripture. God first, spouse second, children third, everybody else fourth, yourself last. That's the hierarchy in your life. You operate life from that hierarchy. And when we're married, you need to seek the one with the two, but not put the two in place of the one. I mean, think what we do to a spouse when we do that. Okay? When we make our spouse number one, we put them on a pedestal. And what we do is we then idolize our spouse. And we ask things of them that aren't fair to ask of our spouse. We're depending on them for our happiness, and we're depending on them for our joy. And they're going to do what every single human being does from time to time. They are going to fail. And what we do is, here we go from idolizing them, saying things like, you know, oh, when we first met him, you were so great. I mean, you say to your wife, you were so full of energy, and you were so organized, and you were so focused, and you were so driven. And then when they let us down, what do we say? You're nothing but a control freak, and you want everything your way. Because we go from idolizing to demonizing when it doesn't go right. Okay? Or that guy that I just appreciate that he's so laid back, and he doesn't let anything really shake him. And then when he fails, you go, he is so stinking lazy. All he ever does is lay on the couch and play video games. He's like a bump on a log. What worth has he got? We idolize them, then we demonize them because we put them in the wrong place. They aren't the ones you draw purpose from. They aren't the ones that are there to satisfy your life and to meet your needs. God is that person first. So we do that. And we can do this with our kids. Many couples do this. They'll even have God first, but they'll put their kids second. And all of a sudden, their wife is a distant third, fourth, or fifth. Or their husband's a distant third, fourth, or fifth. And we make it all about our children. It's the same mistake. You don't mess up this order that God has. God first, spouse second. God first, spouse second. Family third. Everybody else, then me. That's God's hierarchy. That's how God does it. That's why it works. It has worked since time began. This is God's plan for us. So I will always seek the one with my two, so that I put the one in the right perspective and my two in the right perspective. And I'll seek it together with them, not separately, but we do it as a couple. We seek God together. We serve God together. 1 Chronicles 28:9 says this: "Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind, for the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him." Now, you may not have that in your handout. I added that for a reason. So write it down, 1 Chronicles 28:9. "Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind, for the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him." Guys, as a couple, we need to seek God together. I mean, honestly, think about that. If you're looking for the best deal on golf clubs, what do? You seek the best deal, right? I mean, if you're a shrewd shopper, I know for me, that's how I did it. The last set of golf clubs I bought, I waited weeks, if not months, as I hunted over and over on Facebook and on Craigslist and on eBay. I finally found this one guy who was a pro somewhere in Florida, where if you're a golf pro, they send you clubs to try out because they're hoping that you'll then push them on to the people at your golf club. And this guy had posted the very clubs I was looking for. They had been used one time, because he wanted to try them out once, and he was selling them for a third of the price. I found my good deal. I bought $1,200 worth of clubs for $300. It was a good deal. I found it because I sought it. I looked for it. I went after it because I didn't want to spend a ton of money on it. I mean, that's how we're supposed to do it. We make those decisions. You seek God by doing that. If you're looking for a place to get your nails done, you just walk into any place? No, you get advice. In fact, the favorite thing I think people do now today is on Facebook. They will post what they're looking for, and then they'll say, "Go." Then everybody lists all the people that they recommend, so that they have this list of people to kind of check out and figure out what we should do. That makes sense. You're seeking the very best, right? And then you'll find it. You're looking for a good pizza restaurant? You just walk into any pizza joint? No, you get advice from people. What do you think about this? Which pizza place do you go to? Why do you like that? Because I don't want to waste my money. But if you seek it, you're going to find it. If you lose your keys to your car, do you just say, "Oh, too bad"? Especially when it's one of those like our Prius where it's just a fob and not a key, and that fob is $280 to replace. Do you seek those keys? I look everywhere for those things. In fact, my son Josh is so bad at leaving his keys places, he's even put in one of those tags on it so that if he can't find his keys, he can actually track it with the tracker that's inside on his keychain, so he can go back to the place where he left them. Because you don't want to spend that kind of money in that kind of time. You seek it so that you can find it. What's more important to you is the thing that you'll seek harder after. If God is your one, as a couple, you will seek hard after God. You will look for him, and he promises you will find him. You will see him. You will find him. Okay? It's not that you just sit down as a couple and have a devotion time. God is woven into every single aspect of your life as you seek the one together as a couple, not separate. There's a principle out there about habits. There's good habits and there's bad habits in life. Many of you know what I'm talking about. There are certain habits that would be called keystone habits. Habits that if you do those, they tend to lead to other positive habits. Or if they're a negative habit, they can lead to some negative consequences in life. I think I shared it once kind of jokingly about it, but nonetheless, flossing is a great example. Flossing is one of those habits in life that can lead to so many good things. Because think about it, when you floss your teeth, you feel better about how you look. When you feel better about how you look, you take better care of your body and how you feel about yourself. You tend to eat better, you tend to perform better, you tend to look better, you tend to be more encouraged about life, all because you started your day or stuff with flossing your teeth, because it's a habit that gets you kick-started. But if you don't, what could happen? Well, I don't floss my teeth, so I don't feel good about myself, so I really don't care how I look, so then I overeat, and then I get fat, and I go to work, and somebody looks at me and says, hey, you're getting kind of fat, so I punch him in the face, and I lose my job, and then I'm on my way home in the car, and I get pulled over by a cop, right, because I'm speeding, because I'm not paying attention, so I'm so angry, and now all of a sudden I've lost my job, I've got a ticket, I might go to jail because of the way I talked and treated the cop, all because I didn't do what? Floss my teeth. Okay. Now, you're going to laugh, but there are keystone habits in life that lead to positive outcomes or to negative outcomes. And so in this series, I could have given you a list, and I'm going to give you a short list and not even going to talk about it, just going to give it to you, of 5 or 6 things on how you seek God. But I think what I've learned over the years is there's one keystone habit that leads to really good stuff in your marriage if you will employ it over and over and over and over again. If you will develop this habit in your life, it will lead to other good habits that strengthen your marriage. And that is simply this: pray together every day. Pray together every day. Some of you are going, I don't like that. That's so hard to do. It's maybe because we have a misconception of what it means to pray together. But we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Notice what it says in 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and what? Pray, and then do what? Pray and seek my face, and then do what? Turn from their wicked ways. Then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. And if I can just take a little liberty with that verse, and I will heal their marriage. Okay. If I will do these things, if I will seek Him, if I will turn, but most importantly, if I will pray. Prayer has a powerful impact. I mean, prayer, when it's done with your spouse, is such an intimate thing. Every time I have an opportunity to pray with Dora or about Dora, I feel closer to her. I feel more connected. I feel like, there's an intimacy that I can't explain that I have with her that is different than anywhere else. It draws me closer together with her. That intimacy is so important. And I know it can be intimidating. And I know people think, this has been tough. We've tried it. We can't do it. But you have to realize praying with your spouse every day, praying together, doesn't mean you're sitting down on your knees every day for 15 minutes praying with each other. That's not what I'm talking about. It may be that you simply are having your thoughts focused on your bride or your husband, and you begin to pray for them. Or you send them a text message and say, I know you're struggling today. I'm praying for you. Maybe it is you're sitting there in bed and you're thinking about something and you say, we just need to pray about this together. And you begin to pray about it. Maybe when you sit down and have a meal with each other, you pray about each other at the meal and encourage. So often I've seen Dora do this, and I know I do it for her as well. When we're struggling, when we sit down and get ready to eat a meal, we will pray for each other before we even pray for the meal. Lord, help her with this. She prays, help John with that. We'll do that for our kids, and then we're praying together about our kids. And, this is a powerful, intimate time that we have with each other. And it doesn't have to look like church all the time. It doesn't have to be churchy. It doesn't have to be prescribed. It's a habit we develop. And I can tell you, and you probably have experienced this in your life, when your prayer life is struggling, your whole Christian walk is struggling. And if that's true of your Christian walk, it's going to be true of your marriage as well. So you pray together. Okay? Don't be dogmatic about it. Don't sit there and think, if I don't do it every day, somehow I'm failing. I mean, if I forget to floss one day, what do I do the next day? Go, oh, life is terrible. I shall never floss again. No, I pull the floss out and I floss my teeth. I start again. And so if I miss a day, I just start over. It's okay. I don't beat myself up for missing a day. I just remember this is an important thing to do, so I do it again. So you start your days that way. You end your days that way. You keep that focus with each other. You're praying for each other. I mean, honestly, think about the benefits. I mean, it is hard to pray with someone that you're mad at. You ever tried that? I mean, it really is hard to pray for someone that you're mad at, let alone pray with them. Hard to want a divorce from a person that you're praying with every day. Look at how it protects you. It's difficult to have an affair with someone whose hands you're holding and praying with every day. It protects you. It starts the pattern of life together with God as you seek God. Several years ago, Family Life did a survey, and I've used this survey in reference many times, not in messages, but with counseling couples. Did you know that fewer than 8% of Christians pray regularly together? But of those couples that do, less than 1% end in divorce. That's a startling statistic. You want almost a guarantee that your marriage is going to be successful, then you start by praying together. You pray together. Statistics bear it out that it makes all the difference in the world. Pray together. I don't know how else I can say it to you guys. This is so important. It's the only thing, like I said, I've got 4 other things I'm going to share, and I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just going to give them to you. I've talked about them in so many other messages, it shouldn't be shocking to you what they are. But the reality is, you want to start your marriage on the right track, you pray together. You want to keep it on the right track, you pray together. You want to heal it, you start praying together. Because it's the most intimate thing you can do with your spouse. Okay? It is. It brings you so close to each other because you have each other on your hearts and on your minds, and you're concerned about them, and they become a focus of your life. And you're putting God first by lifting up to Him in prayer, the one who can help you. Okay? He's first, your spouse is second. Always. Always. And you start by praying together. And I'm hoping today, if you're not doing that, take the challenge and start. Just start praying with each other. Okay? I don't care if it's just saying grace at the table. You know? Some of the most powerful prayer times we've had started by praying at the table together. It has. Dora's really good at night reminding me as we're laying there, we need to pray. I go, you're right, we do. And I appreciate it when she does that. We need to be thinking about it. We need to be focusing on it. If we do what everybody else is doing, 50-50 chance. But if you pray together, 99% chance of success. I think those are good odds. Great odds. And it starts by praying with each other. Now, there's some other things you can do to seek God. I just listed them, and you're going to know them. Read God's Word together. Worship together. Right? Create your own spiritual traditions in your families together. Do life with God every day. But you know where all those start? By praying first. Prayer makes that happen. Prayer makes you want to do those things. Prayer energizes you to serve God. Prayer energizes you to read God's Word together. Prayer energizes you to say, I need to go worship the God that I'm praying to, right? I need to go down that path. It makes you focus on the life that God has before you. And I don't know about you, I'm not satisfied with 50-50. And I'm going to tell you that marriage is not a 50-50 proposition. It is 100-100. I'm all in, always, both of us, towards each other. You don't meet me halfway. I don't care if you're my spouse, I don't meet you halfway because you may be having a hard time and all you can give is half. I give you all that I am all the time, just like my relationship with God. I give you all that I am all the time, regardless of what you give me in return. And so even if they're struggling, I'm going to be praying all the more for them because I want them to be blessed by God. I want them to be encouraged by God. I want them to see God as their source, and I want to do that with them together. I lay down my life for them like Jesus laid down his life for me. He didn't give 50% of what he was. He gave all of who he was to us. And we give all of who we are to each other. And that only happens if you seek God first. And it only really means something in your marriage if you demonstrate it by praying for one another. And that leads to all sorts of great things in marriage. I give all that I have. Marriage is not a piece of paper. It is not a license. It's not a certificate. It's a covenant relationship between two people that says we will not give up on each other. And I will seek God with you. And I will pray with you. And I will live a life focused on God first and you second. I won't put you number one because I don't want to hurt you, because you're going to fail me. But because God is number one, when you fail me, we can pray our way through it. We can get through this because you, God, can heal us. That's how this works. You need to take to heart the words of Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, its builders labor in vain. You want to build a marriage, you build it on your relationship with him first. If you're not married, you seek the one while you prepare for the two. If you are married, you seek the one with your two. And when you do that, you will see success, because God's then the center of everything. See, the truth is, God is the glue that holds a marriage together. It's not love. It's not some emotion. God's the glue that'll hold a marriage together. Seek him first and start by praying together. So let's pray. Gracious Father, this is your plan, not mine. God, this is what you teach us in your word, that we are to seek your kingdom first, that we don't put any human being above you. And God, for many of us, we have made that mistake and we have suffered the consequence. We have been let down, we have been hurt, we've been damaged because we got that wrong. But today, God, it can be so right if we will just trust in you. Lord, I know that many are going to say, but I've tried the prayer thing and I can't do it. It just doesn't work. God, give them the wisdom, the insight to see that it doesn't have to be a formula. It's a heart attitude where you lift each other up in prayer, that you focus on each other. God, help us to see the simplicity of what you're really asking of us. I mean, if you're our number one, we have a heart for everything, especially our number two. So God, may our hearts be welded to your heart. May our minds be focused on you first. God, help us to see the greatness that you are and who you really are in the equation of our relationships. That you must be first. If we want to see success in our marriages, in our relationships, God, you have to be number one. Then help us to learn to cherish our spouse the way you cherish each and every one of us. And Lord, as we begin to go down this path of learning different ways to be married and what it means and the things that are really truly important, this is the starting point, seeking you, especially through praying together. And so, Lord, convict our hearts. For those that aren't there right now and haven't been doing it, God, I just want to speak with them for a moment. And if that's you in the group today and you're struggling, you're saying, I don't do this, and I'm struggling, I want to do it, now's the time to say, I want to do it. In fact, if you're next to your spouse right now, I'd ask that you take their hands. Just do that. Take your spouse's hand. And let's make a commitment together that today, from this day forward, I will make God my number one and you my number two, and I will pray with you and for you. And if that's a commitment you want to make today, raise both your hands in the air together. Just do that. That's a commitment to do together as husband and wife. If you're already doing that, thank you. Thank you. You could be up here speaking this to each other. God, help us to take that commitment seriously. We need to be there for you first and for our spouse second. And if you're here this morning and you don't know Jesus, then you need to seek the one. If you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, He is the only one that can truly fulfill. He's the only one that can bring true joy in your life. He is the one that can give you the ability to navigate life and make relationships successful. So if you want to seek that one today, you just need to simply say, I'm here, and God, I need you. If that's you, you can raise your hand. You can say it in your heart. This is a personal time of commitment to Jesus Christ, where you simply say, Jesus, you are the one I need. And today I commit to make you number one in my life. To forsake all others, I want you to lead me, to guide me, to love me, to direct me. Father, be my one. Thank you, God, that you hear those prayers. And I pray, God, you would empower everyone making a decision today to live out the life that you have chosen for them, to live out the marriage, if they are married, that you have prepared for them. And for those who are looking, God, and may someday become married, I pray, God, you guide them to their two while they seek you as their one. Father, I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.